Today we're going to be talking about a brand that I have not talked about yet on this channel, and that is Timex, talking about the Q Timex Chronograph. I haven't made a video in a very long time. I've been crazy busy with work and I just haven't been spending any money on watches. And I just barely today got a new watch. I don't think I'm gonna keep it just because I don't personally have any excitement for quartz, but I respect it and I think this watch is really cool. So I wanted to talk about it and just share my thoughts on this watch. So this is the little box that it comes in. It comes in a gray box, and when you open it up, your watch is sitting on a pretty big pillow that fits up the entire space of the box. And this is the Q Timex Chronograph, which is a quartz, mecha quartz chronograph watch made by Timex. Just to give a little bit of specs and dimensions of this watch so you can kind of get an idea as to the size of this watch. This has a 40mm case. It is 13.5mm thick. And this is an integrated bracelet style watch. It's not the exact same type of integration as a PRX. It actually has removable, it's an 18mm lug width. So you could put it on any 18mm strap and it would fit just fine. But the bracelet that they have paired with it kind of tapers and matches the case a lot better than if you were to put like a rubber or even like a NATO, which would probably be weird. But as you can see, this watch is very inspired by the 70s era of watches with not only the integrated bracelet, but it has a domed acrylic crystal. So this feels very vintage, as most of the Q Timex watches do. This is actually my first time at hands-on with a Q Timex, and I'm actually kind of shocked. I got this for a super crazy price. At retail, I feel like the finishing and the quality and the feel is actually pretty fair for the price. The retail price is $219, and if you think about other watches you can get that are similar, Seikos are gonna be in the range of $400 to $700 for their quartz chronograph watches. And this honestly feels basically just as good quality. I would say the bracelet is a little bit less quality than those Seikos, but the case itself is actually really nice. So the functions of this watch is it is obviously, as you can see, a chronograph. So when you start that chronograph seconds hand, the chronograph seconds hand starts ticking around the dial. That's what the mecha quartz means. It ticks like a mechanical watch. So rather than having 1 tick per second, it ticks probably 3, maybe 4 times per second, giving you that traditional mechanical sweep. At the 3 o'clock subdial, you have a 24-hour hand. So essentially this would be used as like a GMT function, but you can't track a second time zone. So it just displays your current time zone in a 24-hour format. At 6 o'clock, you have a 60-minute timer that's linked to the chronograph. At 9 o'clock, you have your running seconds hand. At 4:30, you see a color match date wheel that is color matched to the dial, and it actually blends in really nice. And because of that kind of dome on the acrylic crystal, it does a good job at just making it feel like it's kind of integrated and out of the way. It would be a lot cleaner if they didn't include it, but it doesn't look bad in my opinion. If I had to guess, I think that the bezel is acrylic with the tachymeter scale. The top parts of the case are polished with brushing on the slanted edges of the case. The sides and the edges of the bezel are also entirely polished. And on the case back, you have a circular brushing, kind of like a sunburst brushing, and you have your battery cover, and you can kind of get access to those quick release spring bars that I was talking about. On the other side, you have a signed push-pull crown signed with the Q logo and 2 non-screw down pushers. So I'm editing the video and I forgot to realize that I just completely spaced to talk about the bracelet. So the bracelet on this watch has kind of a 3-link pattern that looks kind of like a 5-link-ish pattern, where you have the main portion of the link, which is kind of W-shaped, and then you have 2 little tiny links that hold that together, and those are polished, and the W link is brushed. The quality of the brushing, I would say, is fair for the price, but you're not buying this watch to get a super well finished bracelet. It has a stamped clasp that has a signed Timex logo, and it has a double deployant clasp. So you push both of the buttons, it comes up. If you only push one, it won't come up. This is definitely, you can see where they kind of not cut corners, but where they didn't go all out to make it feel like it's a super nice watch. It's just one way to keep a little bit more money in your pocket while still getting a watch that's designed well. So I didn't buy this watch to keep. I just bought it because it was a really crazy deal and I can't pass up good deals. But wearing this on the wrist, it's actually really, really clean. I love the colorways of that reverse panda colorway, and the subdials aren't a pure white. They're kind of like a faded yellowy white. It kind of gives me those vintage Daytona vibes, but obviously not blatantly ripping off a Daytona, as it's the integrated bracelet and it just looks different. Do I think this is worth $219? I feel like it is. If you're someone who cares more about the design elements of a watch versus the movement, making sure it's mechanical, then this is definitely a watch for you. You get all of the design elements that make a watch really good and really clean, but being that you forego the mechanical movement, you get to save a lot of money in the process. So this is a pretty good bang for buck chronograph if you ask me. Now to cons and gripes and things that I don't like. Part of this watch's design is that domed acrylic crystal. But because it's made of acrylic, if you wear your watch every single day, and if you're in an environment where your wrist is prone to knocking on things, this crystal is going to get super scratched up. Acrylic, of course, does have its pros though. If you were to smack your wrist really hard on something, this isn't gonna shatter, but it is gonna scratch to hell. But the pro is if you get a little bit of poly watch, you can buff out most of the scratches on the crystal and make it look brand new again. You kind of got to pick and choose what you want. You can spend more money and get sapphire and not have scratches, or spend a lot less money and have acrylic, but you got to buff it out every once in a while. But again, that domed crystal effect, I feel like just adds to the overall experience of how this watch looks. It just looks and feels very vintage, but with modern quality. Another con about this watch is the lume is actually terrible. The video you're seeing on camera makes it look like it's glowing, I would say like a fairly good bit, but once I put the camera away and I just looked at it with my eyes, you can kind of barely tell that it's glowing. The lume is actually awful, but I don't think that's a deal breaker, it's just what it is. But I just wanted to hop on and make this quick video about the Q Timex Chronograph. It's a really clean watch, and I actually, the more that I'm talking about it and the more that I'm looking at it, I actually really kind of want to keep it, but I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you're here all the way till the end, shout out to you. You are the real ones. That's it from me. Goodbye.